The Galactic Order had ruled for millennia, a vast empire of species bound together under strict hierarchy. Some races were conquerors, others subjugated, but all obeyed the unspoken rule: power determined worth. Humanity, a relatively new arrival to the interstellar stage, was seen as nothing more than an anomaly. Intelligent, yes. Industrious, certainly. But warriors? No. They had joined the Order through diplomacy, not battle, negotiating trade deals and political alliances instead of seizing what they wanted. To the war-hardened races of the galaxy, this was a clear sign of weakness. A race that had not claimed its place through bloodshed was not a race to be feared. At the heart of the Order sat King Zypher of the Zarkar Dominion, a species bred for war. Towering reptilian creatures with scales that could deflect blades, they had built their empire through generations of conquest. Zypher, their supreme ruler, had never lost a war. He saw humanity's existence as an insult, their diplomacy as cowardice. Humans speak of peace because they fear war, Zypher declared in a council meeting, his voice a low growl. They build alliances because they know they cannot stand alone. They are not warriors. They are prey. The other rulers murmured in agreement. The humans had never demonstrated the kind of brutality necessary for survival. Their worlds were untouched by interstellar war. They had never truly been tested. Zypher decided it was time to change that. The invasion of Earth was framed as a mere formality, a show of dominance rather than a true war. The Zarkar had crushed civilizations far older and stronger. Humanity would fall in days, if not hours. Their fleet entered Sol's system unchallenged, descending upon Earth with the arrogance of conquerors. The first strikes were surgical, targeting military installations, key infrastructure. They expected fear, panic, and ultimately, surrender. Instead, they received silence. Then came the counterattack. Orbital stations came online, revealing weapons that had never been disclosed in diplomatic meetings. AI-controlled missile systems shredded incoming Zarkar ships. Ground forces mobilized with terrifying efficiency. In less than an hour, the Zarkar fleet realized their mistake. This was no helpless world. This was a battlefield. Zypher's generals reported back, their confident tones cracking. They had expected a slaughter. Instead, they were the ones being hunted. The Galactic Order watched, expecting humanity to beg for peace. Instead, they saw something else. Something they had never seen before. The humans did not simply fight. They adapted. They studied their enemy in real time, exploiting weaknesses within hours. They fought without honor, without hesitation, using every strategy that ensured victory. Reports of human soldiers executing captured Zarkar commanders spread quickly. The enemy was not taken prisoner. There were no negotiations. There was no mercy. Zypher watched footage of his warriors, once invincible, now broken. His claws curled into fists. This was not the war he had imagined. It was something far worse. For the first time in his life, King Zypher felt fear. The Galactic Order's council chambers were filled with silence as they watched the war unfold. This was supposed to be a display of superiority, a reminder that humanity was nothing but an overreaching species playing at diplomacy. Instead, it had become a massacre, but not of humans. The Zarkar fleet was in ruins. What had started as an invasion had turned into a desperate retreat. Their warships, once thought to be unmatched, were torn apart by a force that had spent decades preparing for this very moment. Humanity had never been blind to the nature of the galaxy. They had seen the wars, the brutality, the way power was the only language understood. And so, while they had spoken in diplomacy, they had built in secret. Zypher refused to accept what was happening. His empire had never lost. His warriors were the strongest in the known universe. It was impossible that these fragile creatures, these humans, were pushing them back. Yet the reports were undeniable. The outer colonies of the Zarkar Dominion were falling, not just to military might, but to something worse, precision. The humans did not fight like other species. They did not charge into battle-seeking glory. They did not waste resources on shows of force. They fought to win, and they did so in ways that the Zarkar had never imagined. Communications were cut. Supply lines were severed. Entire fleets found themselves stranded, their fuel depots destroyed before they even realized they were under attack. Cities fell in silence, their defenses bypassed, their leaders executed before alarms could be raised. The humans fought like a species that had learned from every war in their history, refining brutality into an art. The Zarkar expected warriors. They were facing predators. Zypher's orders grew desperate. He demanded reinforcements. The Galactic Order refused. The Council had watched enough. This was no longer a simple war. It was a warning. Humanity had been underestimated, and now the Order faced a choice: intervene and risk turning their weapons on Earth, or let the Zarkar fall and hope that humanity's thirst for vengeance ended there. The decision was made. The Order would not act. The Zarkar were left to their fate. On the front lines, the last remnants of the once mighty fleet made their final stand over their homeworld. The humans did not hesitate. They did not offer surrender. They did not seek diplomacy. They unleashed fire upon the planet's surface, reducing strongholds that had stood for centuries to nothing but ash. Zypher's palace was the last to fall. His personal guards, once the elite of his empire, were cut down before they could even reach their weapons. The final transmission the Order received was brief, grainy footage of the once great king kneeling, a blade pressed against his throat. There were no speeches, no last words. The execution was swift. The transmission cut. The message was clear. The humans were not weak. They were not afraid. They were not prey. They were the end. The execution of King Zypher sent a shockwave through the galaxy. No ruler had ever been killed so unceremoniously, so efficiently. In wars past, negotiations had always followed a decisive battle. Even the most brutal conquests ended with terms, with some semblance of civility. Humanity had broken that tradition. There were no terms. No warnings. No demands. Only death. The Zarkar Dominion collapsed within days. With their leadership gone and their military in ruins, their once loyal subjects turned against them. Former vassal states declared independence. Refugee fleets fled in every direction, seeking sanctuary in the territories of those who had once feared them. The empire that had stood unchallenged for centuries had been annihilated in weeks. The Galactic Order convened in emergency session. Panic gripped the Council. They had expected humanity to resist, perhaps even defend their world successfully. But this was something else. Humanity had not just won. They had erased an empire. Debates raged across the chamber. Some argued that an immediate military response was necessary, that humanity had to be put down before they turned their weapons on another species. Others, those who had seen the efficiency of the war, understood the truth: any move against Earth would be suicidal. The Order had seen the recordings. The way humanity fought, the way they dismantled their enemies with calculated precision. They had seen the bodies of Zarkar leaders discarded like nothing more than an inconvenience. They had seen the cold efficiency of a species that did not fight for glory, for conquest, or for revenge. Humanity fought to end threats. And when they fought, they did not stop until the threat was gone. So the Order did nothing. Earth remained silent. They made no demands. No ultimatums. They did not expand, did not seize territory beyond the ruins of the Zarkar homeworld. Their war had been one of necessity, not ambition. But that did not make them less dangerous. Fear spread across the galaxy. Border worlds reinforced their defenses. Treaties were rewritten overnight. Military doctrines were overhauled to account for the possibility of war with a species that had no interest in negotiating once a fight began. And then, something worse happened. The weak began to rally to Earth. Smaller civilizations, ones that had been subjugated by the Order, ones that had lived in fear of species like the Zarkar, began reaching out. They had seen what humanity was capable of. They had seen that, for the first time in history, a predator had been made into prey. And they wanted protection. The first alliances were small. Then they grew. Former vassal states of the Zarkar pledged loyalty to Earth, offering technology, resources, even fleets. The Order watched in horror as humanity, without lifting a finger, became the center of a new power block. The galaxy had mocked them as weak. Now, it belonged to them. The balance of power had shifted. The Galactic Order had ruled unchallenged for millennia, dictating the fate of species as they saw fit. But now, for the first time, there was something they feared. Something they could not control. Humanity had proven itself in war, not as conquerors, but as executioners. The annihilation of the Zarkar Dominion had not been an expansionist campaign. It had been a message. And the galaxy had received it loud and clear. No race dared challenge Earth. Not out of respect, but out of sheer terror. For decades, the Order had treated humanity as an afterthought, a species meant for trade, diplomacy, and nothing more. Now, those same diplomats were being met with caution, their every word weighed carefully. The smallest insult could be misinterpreted. The smallest conflict could spiral into extinction. For a time, there was peace. A cold, uneasy peace built not on treaties or mutual understanding, but on fear. Humanity did not make demands. They did not seek power. Yet their silence was more threatening than any war fleet. The simple knowledge that they could strike again was enough to keep the galaxy in check. But not all had learned the lesson. A coalition of lesser races, driven by arrogance or desperation, convinced themselves that humanity's restraint was a bluff. That their war against the Zarkar had been a fluke, a fortunate alignment of circumstances. That, perhaps, the right strategy could bring them down before they grew even stronger. A fleet was assembled in secret. Hundreds of ships, drawn from multiple species, gathered on the edges of human space. A preemptive strike. A test. It lasted less than an hour. The moment their ships crossed the border, they vanished. No distress signals, no survivors, no wreckage. Just silence. And then, the message came. A single broadcast, sent across every known channel, reaching every world, every empire, every leader. It was simple. A recording of Earth, blue and calm, its cities illuminated against the dark. A voice followed, emotionless, without threat, without malice. We asked for peace. You gave us war. A pause. We ended it. Another pause. We do not seek conflict. But if you bring it to us, we will finish it. No more words. No more messages. The screen faded to black. The Order never spoke of the fleet again. No records were kept. No accusations were made. The species involved erased their own histories of the event, pretending it had never happened. And from that moment forward, no one dared test humanity again. The galaxy had mocked them once. Called them weak. Civilized. Fearful of war. Now, they would never forget.